Hi South Shore, welcome back to Math with Naz. Today we are moving on to Module 5, Lesson 13. What you're going to need for this activity is a piece of paper, which I have folded as a hot dog and then a hamburger and cut up into fourths. You will need scissors to do that. I'll walk you through what to do if you don't have scissors. You will also need your journal to write in, or any piece of paper if you don't have your journal, and a pencil. So go ahead and gather everything you need and then come on back for the lesson. Okay, third graders, here's what to do if you don't have a pair of scissors. Just take your piece of paper and fold it first like a hamburger, and then push it down really tight. Use your fingernail to run down the crease. Open it up, fold it the other way, right on the crease, and do that same kind of folding and creasing. And then very, very gently, when you're all done, you can start ripping it. It will rip right, if you go slow and steady, it should rip right down the crease. Don't go too fast or it'll rip in ways you don't want it to rip in. This one should have been creased a little bit more. If you're having the problem that I'm having right now, that's okay. Just go back, crease it again, fold it, unfold it, crease it again. Takes a little bit longer, but it's doable if you don't have scissors. See? Oh, much better. Now when you're all done with that, take both halves and one by one fold them. And crease them, and fold them the other way, and crease them again. Do it until you think that you're able to gently rip the paper into 2 equal parts. Do that with this one as well until you have 4 pieces. All right, third graders, so we're gonna go ahead and take this paper, and we are going to think about the hole. The hole on this piece of paper is the whole card. So I'm gonna go ahead and outline it in this pretty blue marker until I have represented my hole, and my hole again is this whole card. Okay, now that I know what my hole is, I'm gonna go ahead and partition it into fourths. And I'm gonna just do that by folding it one time and then folding it another time, so that I'm making a half and then I'm folding my halves into half. When you're all done with that, go ahead and take your marker and make those lines really dark. You should be drawing 3 lines to make 4 equal parts. Now go ahead and shade in one of your parts. You don't have to do a perfect job, just do a loose shade. And then put the unit fraction. What's the unit fraction? 1/4. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So I know each part is 1/4, and the whole card is my whole. Okay, third graders, so your whole is this entire card, and the part you've shaded in is 1/4. Now we're gonna go ahead and work with one of the other cards that you made when you did the cutting. But this time we're gonna change what the whole is by folding your card in half and either using scissors or creasing it really hard. Go ahead and cut that card in half. You're only gonna be working with a half of this card. Now, your whole has changed. Your whole is no longer the whole card, it's this fraction of the card. So go ahead and with a marker with your pencil, outline the card. And now we can say on this that 1/2 of the card equals 1 whole. So instead of the whole being the entire card, the whole is 1/2 of the card. So go ahead and line them up so that they're edge to edge, and take your marker or pencil, whatever you're working with, and draw a, actually I'm going to fold this in half, because otherwise my line is going to be crooked and I want it to be relatively straight. So I'm going to fold it in half, and now I'm going to line the edges up, and look, do you see how when I line the edges up, my crease is right where my line was from my last card? So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line so that you can see where the original fraction is on my new whole. And go ahead and shade in one part of that new fraction. Now, third graders, you can see that this size and this size are exactly the same, right? I've got the same space or area shaded in. But what's the new fraction? Is it still 1/4? Think about it. Say it. Is this still 1/4? No, it's not. It's now 1/2. So I can tell that even though the area is the same size, because the whole changed, my new fraction is 1/2. So in other words, third graders, changing the whole changed the unit fraction that we use to describe the shaded part. What was 1/4 of the whole card is 1/2 of the new smaller whole. Okay, third graders, now on my own personal whiteboard, I have drawn a rectangle and I've shaded in a portion of it. This whole rectangle equals 1. But how can I figure out what I've estimated it into? If my rectangle equals 1, how can I figure out what the fraction is? So I just have to estimate. If I draw a shape that's this exact length over here, I can only do that once. So I can see this is 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. So this whole rectangle is partitioned into 3 parts, or 1/3. How much is shaded in? Think it. Now say it. Yeah, the shaded in portion equals 2/3. Okay. Okay, I'm going to draw a new shape on my whiteboard. That's exactly the same length and width as the one I just drew. But I'm going to partition this one a little bit differently. I'm going to partition it in half. And then I'm going to shade in this portion and a little bit from over here. But third graders, this is a little bit different. Instead of my whole being the entire shape on this one, I have 2 holes. This is one shape, and this is another shape. So I have 2 holes. So if I wanted to partition this one into thirds, I could do that. And these are each 1/3. Now I'm going to estimate to partition the second shape. So I know that these 2 shapes are joined together, but I want you to pretend like they aren't. Like this is 1 and this is 1. They're just touching. So if I partition this one and I want to make parts of equal sizes, I'm just going to estimate by drawing a line, and they also equal 1/3. So now of my two shapes, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 thirds shaded in. What's the shaded region? 4 thirds. Remember, anytime the number on top is bigger than the number on bottom, you know it's more than one whole. And here I have one whole and one more third, 4 thirds. All right, third graders, now what you're gonna do is work on the problem set. I went ahead and printed out the problem set here at home, but feel free to grab your journal and you can write this in your journal. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, third graders, I've got my journal out, and if you've been doing all the assignments and following along at home, you'll know that we did skip a lesson. I skipped lesson 12. We went right to lesson 13. So what you're going to do is you're going to write today's date, which is 6-1-20 on top. You're going to label this lesson 13. Please don't skip this step. This step is really important for your teacher to know which paper we're grading. Now, if you look at the problem set, it says the shape represents one whole. Write a unit fraction to describe the shaded part. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this shape. First, I'm going to label it as 1A, and I'm going to draw the shape. And I'm going to do my best to make sure I have made a shape that is equal. Now I'm going to call the shaded region, and I'm going to write the unit fraction, and for this one it is 1/2. 1/2. My whole is the entire shape. The shaded region is 1/2. I'm going to draw that exact shape again, doing the best I can to make it look even. But this time the directions say for 1B, which I'm going to label right there, the directions say the shaded part represents one whole. Divide one whole to show the same unit fraction you wrote in part A. So we know that part A is 1/2, but this time just the shaded region is what I'm working with. In other words, pretend like this part is not there at all. Now, how can I partition just this one part of the original shape into halves? And I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line, separating them into two parts, and this is 1/2 and this is 1/2. So I have two of the exact same shapes, right? But for this one, my whole is the entire shape. That's 1. And for the second one that I drew, my whole is just half the shape. I'm pretending like this part is not even there. And then I've partitioned it into halves. Let's do one more of those together. So go ahead and label the next one as 2A. Draw a square. This one looks like it's on an angle. And then partition that in half by drawing lines down the side like that. Not in half, in fourths. And shade in one part. Inside, write the unit fraction. Think about what the unit fraction is if this whole shape is the whole. What is it? Say it out loud. Yeah, 1/4. Now for 2B, I'm gonna draw the same shape as best as I can. And then I'm going to partition it the same way I did last time. And I'm gonna shade in one part, just like I did last time. But third graders, here's the difference. I'm now gonna pretend like the whole is only this part. So I'm gonna pretend like the rest of that isn't even there and I'm just working with this one part, and I've gotta make this represent 1/4. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to partition it in half and then partition it in half again, and then each part is 1/4. My whole for this one is just one of the 4 parts. My whole for this one is the whole square. You're going to do that 3 times on your own. You're gonna do it for 3, 4, and 5. So I will label 3A, and I'm going to draw, I'm gonna use my blue lines to help guide me. I'm going to draw that 2 times, 3A and 3B. You do the same thing on your paper, unless you've printed this out. Now, you need to think about what this shaded part is. Write the unit fraction inside. And over here, you're going to pretend like the whole is just this one part. Whatever this unit fraction is, you need to partition just this one part into that unit fraction. You're going to do the same thing for 4. 4A is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, 1 row. So do 4A, shade in one of the parts, just like they did on the problem set. What is the unit fraction? Think it, write it, draw another rectangle into 5 parts. But this time, you're only partitioning this one little part, and you're going to divide it or partition it into as many parts as that is. So your whole on this one is this one little square. And then for 5, you're gonna write 5A, 2 rows, 3 columns. B. Oh wait, don't forget to shade in one part and write the unit fraction, like I almost did. And then for 5B, draw the exact same shape, but now instead of working with 2 rows and 3 columns, you are only working with this one part of it, and partition that to match the unit fraction of this. When you're all done with these 3 problems and you've copied down the 2 samples we've done together, please go ahead and send your work into your teacher so we can see your great mathematical thinking. Thanks, third graders. Take care. Talk soon.